All right, everybody, this is Andrew from the SuperHousePodcast, and I have a friend here that I haven't seen in a while. We lived in Japan in the same gaijin house together. Well, different apartments, but same apartment building. And his name is Felix Penrose. And this is going to be kind of like, I guess, more or less a wild card episode. I remember I've said in some other episodes of Superhouse that I want to start expanding into other topics and things like that. And this is going to be partly like autobiographical on my part, and then partly going into maybe some deeper discussion stuff a little bit later on in the interview. But this song you're listening to now is called Voyage, and it's from a band called Leave, which is spelled Leavv, and this is from my chill mix. Anyway, how's it going, Felix?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, first off, where are you living right now?
I'm in Tokyo, in Setagaya.
Okay,
So,
and
been
you
living here
are.
for a few
Go
years
ahead. You're like
Yeah.
over 10-year mark, right?
now. I think 13 years.
What is your mother tongue, man? Is it English?
I'm most proficient in English.
But you're pretty much bilingual, though, right?
Yeah, my Japanese sucks though.
I mean, but you say sucks, but you have philosophical conversations in Japanese?
No, it's
Sometime?
difficult.
Okay.
It doesn't stop me from attempting, but
You speak Japanese every day, though.
yeah, goo goo gaga stuff with my girlfriend.
You really don't? You've been there for like 13 years and you don't speak that well?
Yeah, especially these days because most of my friends are just foreigners now,
You getting
just
fucking...
because of work and stuff. But
Oh, man.
yeah, I want to reconnect with my Japanese friends. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to. My Japanese in some ways is better than ever.
yeah, I can't wait to hear
Yeah.
your. You
Um,
talk Japanese with your girlfriend or
Wife.
mostly?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And I keep my Netflix and everything in Japanese.
You guys watch Marie Kondo?
Oh, yeah, everybody says Marie Kondo. I have only seen clips. I don't really care about her that much, but it's news in Japan that was a big deal, right? In America.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
I don't care about that. I just cleaning rooms. Who cares? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's insane, right? Make a fucking TV series out of it?
Yeah,
Nuts.
that's where we're
Nuts.
at. I mean, she was on Colbert and everything with a translator.
Yeah. Cringe-worthy.
This is totally off topic, man. But
Shoot.
it seems to be that Japan is the only country in the world that really hasn't gotten into Marvel movies that much. They just will not break. I mean, it's getting a little bit more and more popular, but I wonder why that is. I guess it's just their otaku culture is so different, or what? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is something I kind of enjoy about the Japanese. They're so insulated, and of course, that's a double-edged sword. It's good and a bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this time of globalism, this is kind of refreshing for me. You know, there's this local quirky culture going on here.
Yeah. I mean, there was the box office info for this, and this is in second week. I think it was number one first week in Japan, actually, but in game, it was showing the week of, like last week, number one in every single country in the world But Japan, it was Conan.
Yeah. Conan.
Conan. Yeah, I know. Yes. So I think there's something good about it, like not following trends.
Hmm.
I think it's definitely a good thing, but it's I don't know, man. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think Japanese people don't really care about the superhero kind of, well, at least not in this, because I think a lot of American superhero movies are about saving society, right?
Yeah.
In Japan, it's not so much about saving society. It's
What's it
more
about?
when it comes to society, it's more about cooperation. And then the hero thing, the Japanese hero is like, sometimes it's like the lone wolf anti-hero, or 仕事ができる人, like someone who's able to kick ass in business, at work.
But not necessarily save society.
Yeah, I don't see that kind of stuff. Maybe there's something like Godzilla, and then the Japanese people come together to defeat Godzilla. Yeah.
I think some of it has to do with look as well, as far as maybe it's changing now, but as far as like from what I remember, a lot of Japanese heroes are essentially teenagers. And a lot of American heroes are in their 30s, you know.
Really?
Batman's supposed to be 29.
Batman, yeah. Batman and Iron Man are kind of outliers in a way, no?
I think most American comics, they're way older than teenager, I'll tell you that much. Except for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so.
Way older.
Yeah.
I guess what they're wanting is different. You know what though? Every time I show, well, I haven't done this in a long time, but when Japanese people see an American comic book movie, generally they enjoy it though. It's just no one's going out of their way in Japan. It seems like to.
Yeah, hard to identify, I think, with the characters.
Yeah.
But like you guys worked on the Miyamoto Musashi thing, right? That scene with Miyamoto Musashi like cutting down that one samurai.
Did I work on it?
Yeah, you said your team worked on it on Westworld, was it?
Oh, it wasn't Musashi though. It was, I mean, it was maybe a character like him, but they're robots in the park.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
we worked on a part of that, yes.
Well, Miyamoto Musashi is like timeless Japanese icon.
Yeah.
And I think I've always sensed, even from when I was a kid, that there are all these the Japanese have a tendency to celebrate the anti-hero. Not really we don't really celebrate like goodness in this. I think maybe it's a legacy of Christianity. Maybe you tend to see, well, the West tends to see the world in good and evil, and in Japan it's humanistic. We're both good and evil, and we celebrate both. We celebrate the person who could make use of both good and evil.
Ah, that's interesting.
So that would be like all those Kurosawa Akira characters, Musashi.
That's interesting. I mean, not celebrating goodness. That is, yeah, I could see that being a Christianity influenced thing. I mean, the celebrating of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love living here, Tokyo.
That's good.
I call it the heart of cyberpunk. It
Yeah.
really feels that way. So
It's interesting though, when I was living there, sometimes it felt like, even though it was known for technology, a lot of Japanese people seem to not know how to use a computer.
yeah,
Like at all.
yeah.
Is that still the case, you think, in your experience?
Well, I think the younger generation is up to speed, but yeah, the older generation is clueless.
It would be people that, like, not even like that old, but like everybody they know how to use their phone, obviously, but they don't. I remember, God,
Yeah,
it seems like most people, like, they've accessed the internet via their phone and they've never done it a single time on on an actual computer. You know what I mean? Like that. There's people like that. To me,
Yeah.
I felt that was strange.
For one thing, the office equipments they're all outdated for whatever reason. They don't want to spend money or whatever. Maybe it's the hierarchies, that prevents progress in that area. Throwing out old computers and bringing in Macs. Everyone's using fucking Windows.
Yeah. In some ways,
Windows.
the Mac boom is not completely dead, but it's like not as huge as it was, and I feel like Windows is in some ways gaining a hold again in America. Do you still have any culture shock? Do you have any kind of, like,
For Japan?
yeah, like, oh, that's different?
Yeah, in small ways all the time. Let's see. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but well, just how small everything is, the space, and people, how they make use of the space here. It's amazing, but also, like, why?
Right.
There is land, and there are ways to create buildings that don't take up so much area, but you can make big spaces. Like, why don't you do that? I don't get it.
Aren't they renting out whole houses, or like you can get a
Right.
house for free in the country?
Yeah, so if they're doing that, I'm sure there's enough land to build bigger homes and structures. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it seems like. Well, whenever I first visited Osaka, I knew it was the number 2 city population-wise in Japan.
Mhm.
After Tokyo. So I go there, and I was expecting something very similar to Tokyo, just with the Kansai accent.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like that, but it was way, way smaller than how Tokyo feels. To me,
Like
anyway.
Inside the building and stuff?
No, like size of
The streets?
my sense of the size of the city as a whole.
The cities are smaller, yeah.
And then I came to find out that Osaka is less than half the size of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things that kind of seems like, what is the percentage of people in Japan moving to Tokyo? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like that city sucks up a large part of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. 12 million people, I think, are here around the Kanto area.
So I lived there from 2006 to 2009. Since 2009, what would you say are the biggest changes since I left?
I think there's a lot more optimism economically, maybe.
Okay.
Like, back then, people were just tired and pessimistic, and this country is going nowhere. And the influx of immigrants, it's really different now. like if you walk through Shibuya, it's like wow, there's so many different. It's starting to really look like cyberpunk dystopian landscape.
When
Yeah.
I visited in 2004 the first time, there was, if you saw another white person, it was a fucking miracle. And now every single time you get on the train, there's, at least in Tokyo, there's at least one or two more.
Yeah. Yeah, even the Japanese people are speaking English and better English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I don't live
Yes.
there, but I can definitely see that.
Yeah, of course, because of the Olympics, there are a lot of renovations going on.
Nuhara?
New Hara?
Nuhara?
Harajuku?
No, have you heard of Nuhara?
No?
Noodle harassment.
What's that?
They're trying to not slurp their noodles during the Olympics because they don't want to harass the foreigners that are coming over.
Hmm.
Nuhara.
That's kind of unfortunate. We should be proud of our culture.
Yeah, I know. That just shows how nice Japanese people are. I mean, they've
Yeah.
got the expression "go ni haite wa go ni shitagau," right? Like, when in
Yeah.
Rome, do as the Romans. They have
Yeah.
that, but they're not
Yeah.
abiding. They're not going by it whenever it comes to their own country. So I don't know. I think it's strange. I feel like the amount of tourists in Japan is higher than ever, but is
Hmm.
the amount of like actual immigrants is also higher than ever?
I haven't looked at the official numbers, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gone up. The government was encouraging influx of new immigrants anyhow.
And do, it seems like, I mean, how many of these immigrants you think are actually learning Japanese? You know, like I always wondered that when I was living there. It seems like, I mean, is Japan going to be like us where they become more mixed? But as they become more mixed, are they going to lose their own language? You know, are they going to
Yeah,
eventually, everybody in Japan just be speaking English at some point because English is so cool?
that's a possibility. Uh, but I think we shouldn't underestimate people's pride in their ethnicity and nation, nationalism, even. But who knows? It remains to be seen.
It just seems like Japanese people think English is so cool that eventually they're going to, God, like, stops. That seems like they're on the path to where they won't be speaking Japanese anymore. And this is another thing that it reminds me of. When I was single and learning Japanese, living in Japan, one thing I found out really quickly was speaking Japanese when you're trying to hit on a chick is a fucking minus.
Yeah,
You're not the
yeah.
full gaijin package if you speak Japanese. Also, Japanese to them sounds weak. Speaking in English sounds strong and it's cool. White people speak in English. You know, it was all those things. It kind of felt like it's not like if you go to France, if you speak in French, it's a plus. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
was
I get the feeling it's more how you say it, how you talk.
yeah. So people just start to sound weaker or something if they speak in Japanese if they're a foreigner? Like what
Maybe
is
it's
it?
you. I think it's just my opinion, but if you do it in a charming way, maybe it works.
But the fact
Because
that it's not 100% effective is somewhat surprising to me, or at least it was surprising to me.
I've had friends who spoke Japanese like they were Germans, and it seemed to work because it was in their manners and like um there it wasn't just a language. They tried to pay respect to how Japanese behave, and they mimicked it,
Yeah.
and they responded well to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being teaching in school, and I was walking in the hallways, and I had said like "what" to these students before, and they thought it was really funny. Like Japanese students think stupid shit is funny sometimes. American students too, but this is, there's a lot of like cultural stuff going on here. Anyway, then I eventually said, "Nani?" What in Japanese?
Yeah.
And then they immediately tell me, immediately in Japanese, "You should say what?"
Hmm.
Nani is not cool. So that was like the first time I had come across that, and I was told straight up too. I mean, given these are like little kids, these are like 13-year-olds, 14 maybe. But
Yeah. Again, I get the feeling that it's about intonation and
yeah,
how you say it. It's like, yeah, it's a subtle thing.
right,
But
right.
it's something you could learn.
I mean, I think I've gotten it more now than I
Yeah.
did before, and but yes, at this time, I probably wasn't too subtle about anything
Hmm.
that I said ever. But I feel like I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I had a Syrian friend who spoke Japanese very well, and yeah, people loved it when he spoke Japanese. So he had this certain flair, and um, you could tell he was very intelligent when he spoke Japanese, and people appreciated it. So
But some people speak Japanese well, but they don't have the mannerisms, so it still doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because language is more than just words, man.
I
It's
get it. Yeah,
behavior.
yeah. Behavior's obviously the biggest thing in Japan, I'd imagine.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I could see that.
Where is your wife from?
She's from Machida, which is right near Yokohama, but it's technically in Tokyo.
Oh yeah, that's the KO line.
Maybe. I've
Isn't it?
actually never been there. And her parents have moved since she's lived here. Her parents live in Shibuya now.
Huh.
Yeah. In America, you usually go out to the countryside once you get old. But they're like damn near retirement age, and they moved right into the center of the shit.
Yeah. Well, the Japanese, the suburbs, like really sucks.
Yeah.
In most places. It's just too convenient in the city.
Yeah.
Millions of convenience stores and vending machines.
I ultimately prefer that kind of life as well, as far as like not having to drive. I mean,
Yeah.
I love just getting on a train and going somewhere. Driving drives me absolutely fucking insane. I do it every
Yeah.
day, but I can't stand it, man.
Hmm.
And LA, as you know, you're from here,
The traffic.
traffic's terrible and drivers are fucking maniacs. And also in LA, you have the situation where you have the second biggest city in America. There's a shitload of immigrants, and everybody's coming with their driving style.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Sorry for all the Asian drivers.
It's not even that, man. I mean, that's a stereotypical, but there might be some truth to that for some reason.
There
Just how they're taught in
is,
their
there
country.
is. Yeah.
But as far as I mean, it could be somebody from wherever, Europe, Middle East. I'm not trying to, you know, be
It's a
equal
culture thing.
for equal sake, but yeah, there's
or
You
it's not even
know,
cultural. Yeah.
yeah, it's not, I don't know. I don't know. But so you're a lifer in Japan. You're gonna be there forever
Not sure. I just lost my green card, so it's expired.
for America.
Yeah, I had it since I was like 8. Now I
Yeah.
lost it. But we'll see. Depends on my work and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, sorry I couldn't make it to your wedding.
Oh, it's okay.
Planning on it. Then like suddenly my parents were, yeah, they're in Tokyo now. They
Yeah.
suddenly had to come here for tax reasons, this and that, and
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good.
But man, that Maui wedding sounds awesome, man.
We're doing it basically just so we can get a vacation out of it. It's amazing we pulled this off because nobody really had a whole lot of money, but
Mhm.
we were able to do it.
How many people are going?
I think it'll be like around 20,
Hmm.
which is pretty small for
Nice.
a wedding, but this is like not just a wedding, this is like a whole week together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. And I'm going to be translating for my family, and what's funny is my family has never heard my Japanese ever, except for one of my brothers, I think.
Hmm.
And they might have seen it on a YouTube video, but they've never heard it in person, except for one brother, because I got a phone call one time when he was in the room. And dude, I've been studying this shit since 2004. It feels like this is like
Yeah.
it's just a whole other side of my life that none of my family knows about. It's
Your
not.
brother never went to Japan.
No, nobody has but me.
Hmm.
First trip was paid for in part by my dad. So I did get like a leg up. But the thing is, I feel like my brothers at least could have taken that advantage of that kind of thing as well, but that just hasn't
Mm.
happened yet for whatever reason. I can edit this part out if you want, but like when you chose your passport, you chose your citizenship after a certain point, right?
Right. So, yeah, both my father and my brother are naturalized, so they're Americans now. But for whatever reason, for well, many factors, and I don't know, even some random factors, I chose to remain Japanese.
You were just like upset at the way America was headed, or you just felt like you needed to stay in Japan longer? You like Japanese culture more, or
Well, all of that, and then it's also complicated. Had a complicated history stretching back to 2001. So we could get into that later if you like.
well, I this has definitely piqued my interest. Is there? I mean, do you want to go over that part of your life or no?
Um, yeah, it is personal, but some of it, well, if we don't go too deeply into it, sure, why not?
I mean, okay,
Because
so
it's a quirky history, yeah, that has to do with maybe some of the things you're interested in. So
wow. Okay, we're teasing the audience left and right. I feel like
all
so.
right.
Um, okay, can you just tell us whatever part of that story you can tell?
Hmm. Um, well, so on Facebook we started talking. Well, out of the blue, like sometimes you ask me random questions about the occult, right?
I ask questions about occult history and yeah, things like that, and basically because I feel like you're one of the few people that can respond to that. One of the few people that I know that can respond in a intelligent manner. You're more knowledgeable
Hmm.
about this than most people, I feel like.
Perhaps. Well, going back to 2001, By that time, I've been involved in a cult for a handful of years, and well, I was experimenting heavily with psychedelics and the cult in circa 2000, maybe,
Okay.
and then by 2001, 2002, I became totally fucked up because of it.
Too much drug use?
If you want to, well, that's a simplification, but yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, too much drugs. Well,
Okay.
I blew a fuse in my brain, let's just say.
Okay. And you do not want to reveal the name of the cult?
I was not really involved in a cult at that time. I was just going to university
Yeah.
and just self experimentation. Psychedelic mushrooms were illegal back in Tokyo in those days.
Yeah.
So it was a wild scene. And yeah, I just went overboard.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So what was there how do I ask this? Was there like what were you hoping to get out of all this? Just a mind expansion to some degree or what?
Yeah. The main, the main, the main thing was to seek after enlightenment.
Enlightenment in the Buddhist sense or some other sense?
Yeah, in the Buddhist sense, in the psychedelic sense, and the occult or magic, properly understood, is about enlightenment. So that was my thing.
And you went to school for philosophy, correct?
I majored in philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to UCLA at the time. And, yeah, one day I was eating ramen with my friends in Westwood with my college roommates, and then suddenly I saw this light, and it told me to call it Felix. So that's kind of how it started there with the name.
Okay. All right.
That
What
was
are
like
you what are you doing in Tokyo now?
I work for a software company.
You
It's a startup.
you program?
No, I'm not a programmer.
Okay.
It's more business strategy.
Okay. And so are you still well, God. I don't know if I want to be on the record for that. What would you say your is there a certain religion or cult or whatever your beliefs are most closely defined by? Like, are chaos magic or whatever the hell it is? Like, is there, or is it
Mm.
basically you just kind of pick and choose from here and there?
Um, well, I call my path, I guess. Well, it's mainly existentialism, like philosophically and my personal religious attitude
Okay.
approach. Yeah. But if you want to, yeah, it's I incorporate chaos magic, thelema, Zen, Discordianism. I think I need all those things to make sense of my path.
Without those, you just feel lost.
Not lost, but we all need symbols, and I guess I've lived without the usual social markers, and so
Well,
I have
okay.
a
So when you say social markers, what do you mean by that?
career, educational background, and marriage, this and that, kind of foregone all those kind of traditional or the usual routes in life.
I mean, you went to school though.
Yeah, I did.
Did you graduate?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a marker a bit. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I feel like
Cool.
you went through some, seems like.
Yeah, of course. But I kept it minimal.
Is atheism not enough?
Atheism, in a way, is part of my life. Yeah,
But
but
you're more of like agnostic atheism?
yeah, strictly speaking, technically.
Okay. And then the quote unquote spiritual stuff is more about having deep experiences, but what are your like beliefs on like actual objective physical, or I guess I don't know, metaphysical spirits, or are those just, what do you call it, like thought forms or whatever?
Well, my approach is speculative. I suspend my judgment. So, but yeah, I tend to not invest in supernaturalism.
Okay.
I tend towards naturalism.
Yeah.
So you could tell by the way I talk, I'm kind of an agnostic, right? Or agnostic atheist, as you say.
Yeah. I mean, you saw me in Tokyo when I was living there, where I was like kind of a fresh atheist. I
Hmm.
remember you kind of laughing at how hardcore I was at times.
Was I?
I mean, you did a little bit. You did a little bit, but the thing is, it didn't like bug me or anything. It was. I could see why you thought that, but then I kind of like loosened up and became more or less agnostic atheist, and to this day, I'm sort of
Uh-huh.
still at that point. I mean, listening to the last podcast on the left has been like a big thing as far as like opening my eyes to these like, the occult magic with a K and all that. Like, I think that stuff is cool, but
Hmm.
I'm still pretty much like, I don't really I don't invest a lot of like, really any hardcore belief in that stuff. But there probably is, like we talked about before, behind the scenes, like there's probably something to do with like brain hacking. What would you
Yeah.
call it? Like
Yeah. Sure.
learning, make your brain work for you.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like maybe some of that stuff is,
Yeah.
they might be onto something with some of that stuff, and I don't think that has anything to do with anything supernatural.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of hacking your brain via symbols and stuff, right?
Yeah. At least at the core of it, yeah, it has to do with programming and reprogramming your brain. Yeah.
For a desired outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. You could say. Oh, that's what chaos magic says, right? But to me, that's like a superficial formulation of it.
Okay.
So this is where I would go to Thelema, which talks about it a little bit deeper, and it's about not just doing whatever you want, but it's about discovering your deeper nature and then fulfilling your deeper purpose, and programming and reprogramming your brain in accordance with that.
Are there
Whereas
Thelema groups in Tokyo?
Yeah, so um, I was involved a little bit with the Ordo Templi Orientis Tokyo.
Yeah.
Bunch of nice guys there. Well read. It's a lot of fun, but I haven't interacted with them in years.
So okay, so the OTO is a little bit deeper than what chaos magic seems to offer.
Well,
Is what you're saying?
It
Or
depends
seems
on the
to,
practitioner when it comes to chaos magic.
gotcha. Yeah. Grant Morrison being like the number one famous dude that does that stuff.
Is he the most famous now?
I mean, God, it seems like you would be. I mean, Alan Moore, I think he's into magic, but he's not in. I never really heard him talk. No, actually, no. He's talking about Osmond Spare in one documentary about Spare. So he's in it, but it seems like
Yeah, I think
It,
he's
look, it,
wary of the chaos magic scene too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But back in the days, William Burroughs and Timothy Leary and Robert Anton Wilson were part of the IoT, which is a chaos magic group. So they're pretty famous.
Is there
But
any?
they're gone. They're
Yeah,
dead.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's his name? Morrison's still alive.
Yeah.
So in Thelema, from what I've only done cursory research, but Satan is a figure in it, but it is not
Hmm.
Satan worship. It's just part of a. It's not even like looked down upon like in regular Christianity. It's a figure that's to be respected or something, but it is not. They're not worshiping Satan
No.
in any shape or form.
Yeah, and a big part of it is to just help you deprogram from all that Christian, guilt trip and fear.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's how Crowley used it. And there are deeper symbolism to that, but yeah, that's some esoteric stuff. So
Okay. So, as far as I feel like I'm changing the levels of depth in my questions here and there, but anyway, the what is it like in the Tokyo scene as far as that stuff is concerned? Like that's something that no one ever fucking talks about is like the occult scene in Tokyo. Like I think people are going to think of that fucking sarin gas cult,
yeah,
Om Shinrikyo. Last podcast always says Shinrikyo, but whatever. Om Shinrikyo, like
yeah.
they, that's obviously the most famous one, I would say. But you know,
Hmm. Yeah, the OTO guys back in the days, I mean, they've been going on for decades here now, I guess. And when the Shindigyo thing happened, the sarin gas thing happened, guess the police were starting to monitor them. So yeah,
I definitely
it's
expect that.
mm,
One thing I've heard from one of my Japanese friends, actually several, is that the fact that Japan is not very religious, if you grow up
mm,
with no religion whatsoever, basically,
yeah.
you'll fall for anything if you start to feel anything spiritual. You know
Oh,
what I
that's
mean?
interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I imagine that might be true.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, you can't really say much anything else as far as your experiences with groups in Tokyo.
In what way? What do you mean? In
Uh,
regards to what you just said? Or?
uh, well, okay. Let me be more specific. Is it? Would you say it's growing?
Well, first of all, I'm a very solitary practitioner, so I've been out of the loop for a long time. But mm, like the OTO guys, I think they're pretty. They stay close. It's like a family almost feeling.
Okay.
Um,
Are they
last time
mostly
I saw them,
foreigner?
yeah, mostly.
Okay. But a lot of those texts have been translated into Japanese. I would.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they've done a good job. Like it sounds cool in Japanese.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's cool. Um,
But yeah, I don't think the cult scene is big in Japan at all. It's not
yeah.
growing. It's yeah. Uh, hmm. But in maybe in like esoteric Buddhism, the community in interest is growing more. I don't know. Maybe
Like Yamabushi stuff.
Yamabushi. I'm sure that it's very, very small.
Yeah.
But maybe like more like Zen or Shingon. Maybe becoming more accessible. and
Yes.
especially well for there's so much more information available for foreigners. So maybe that's yeah, foreigners become interested in it more.
When a few years ago, for whatever reason, I was interested in Yamaguchi stuff, and then I
Hmm.
was looking for it. It's
Did
hardly
you
any. What's that?
did you meet anybody?
I never
Did
met
you?
anybody, but
Mm.
I just looked online. I think even when I was in Japan, and then you couldn't find much at all. And now, uh, search on YouTube and Venmo. I mean, not Venmo, Vimeo.
Yeah.
You'll there's like at least 10 videos
Hmm.
of sort of well done to amateur videos of people doing Yamabushi stuff.
Yeah.
At least introductory information and things like that. It's like the information starting to spread, man. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's still some secrecy around it for whatever reason, but you know, I don't know why that I felt that part was interesting, but it was. It's
Hmm.
some sort of like Shugendo type of thing. Have you ever met anybody in Japan that literally believes in Shintoism,
Literally. Yeah.
Amaterasu, and all that?
Yeah. Yeah. One guy. He was a very eccentric elementary school teacher.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was really interesting. I think he at one point he was trained, or he did become a Shinto priest, and he's really young too, but extremely sensitive person.
Okay.
He invited me to some seminars, but yeah, it was a little bit too much for me, even for me.
Some Shinto seminars.
Yeah, um,
These are like the
yeah, like
ultra right wing. Are they kind of right wingish in
I wasn't sure if I kind of got that vibe a little bit, so yeah,
these are the kind of
yeah,
guys, maybe not all of them, but I mean if you believe in Shintoism to a T, then you're one of the people that believes that the emperor is God, right?
right, right. So, well, who knows? Didn't delve too deeply into it. So,
Yeah. Okay.
have you checked out the Marathon Monk documentary?
No.
Oh, you should check that one out. It's
That's good.
Tendai Buddhism. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's about well, it's really famous. It's called the Sennichi Kaihogyo. It's 1,000 day, 7 year training process they go through, and they go around the Mount Hiei in Kyoto for 7 years. It's
Oh
walking
yeah.
every day, and sometimes they go through this fasting ritual, and they don't take any food or water.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes on for like 5 days, and yeah, they almost they come to the point of death, right? So it's on YouTube. Check it out.
The full thing for free.
Yeah.
Okay. I will. Tendai is also another one for whatever reason I was sort of into that. Um,
Hmm.
okay. Um,
Well, you being an atheist, why were you? Why are you so curious about it?
you feel like once you become atheist, that should be it?
No, just I'm just curious. Like, what's
Well, I'd say my core belief, like I said, is pretty much agnostic atheist. It pretty much hasn't changed, but um, I think that growing up in the area that I grew up in Alabama and Georgia, people just say, "Oh, he's that person's a part of the cult. That person's a Satanist," uh, and it's very not specific.
mhm.
So to learn more about the specifics, chaos magic, left hand, right hand, path magic, whatever you want to call it, OTO, you know, to learn more specifically what these things are. I mean, I think people back in the day would call your old school European paganism,
Mhm.
you know, Satanism in a way, it was just I think I like learning the specifics of it, and I've never done any of the stuff for it, but like the brain hacking kind of like, I guess you could say even like the sigil charging and all that, like
Yeah.
make, what do you call it? Like molding your mind with symbols. Uh, I've never done that, but I think even in my agnostic atheist worldview, with absolutely pretty much, well, there's no real good evidence for anything supernatural. At least you can say there might be something to your brain reacting to symbols.
Hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So that's the psychological model, right?
Can you explain further?
So I guess this is a chaos magic thing. You use whatever model that seems to work, or you experiment with various models, reality models, which could mean atheism, agnosticism, supernaturalism, or the psychological model. Everything is just in your head, and you're just messing with your brain. So you're open to the idea of the psychological model working to produce effects.
As opposed to a spiritual model or something like that?
Yeah, supernatural.
Okay. Yeah. Um,
Like,
yeah. Which one? I mean, you just said that you're more of a naturalist, so you're more of the psychological model type, or
um, well, the psychological model works really well. There's no denying about that. But I'm open to more radical models of reality, like extra dimensions or whatever. It's, of course, it's speculative, but I've had far out experiences that I find difficult to kind of. I find myself force fitting data into the psychological model, so I'm not completely satisfied just with the psychological model.
okay. You're not completely satisfied with, what do you call it, scientific objectivism, or
Well, I believe in scientific objectivity,
okay.
but so if there is a result or an effect that was produced by through whatever magic or whatever, I think it can be verified with scientific method, and thereby regarding it as scientifically objective.
Right.
But we don't have enough understanding and scientific technology, perhaps, to verify everything, all of the supposed results that we get, at this time in history.
You think that there will be a day when that will be possible?
I suspect yeah, I highly suspect the god Horus is the god in Thelema, and he's the child god, the child of Osiris and Isis, and this he symbolizes humanity coming to age. Of course, this is all Western Enlightenment talk too. With Immanuel Kant, we became humanity finally reached the adult stage.
What would constitute being an adult in this view?
Shedding superstitions and questioning old authorities,
Okay.
the church especially.
In a lot of
Uh,
ways, this has already happened.
Yeah, but these kind of movements, they always tend to exaggerate their claims. It's a long, difficult process. So like when Kant first became a prominent figure, people were, I think it was Fichte, he declared Kant as like the real Christ, and like Jesus Christ was like the Antichrist.
Who did this?
I think it was Fichte, the philosopher.
Can you spell that?
Fichte.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, not even Nietzsche said that, right? But of
Oh man.
course, like, after Kant, the all the terror of the revolution happened and everything, and humanity is stupid as ever. And with Thelema, it's at least Thelema didn't declare man as adult like the Enlightenment people did. But with Thelema, we finally reached the adolescent stage in our evolution, and it's just the beginning. We got a long ways to go. We have to, yeah, grow up.
Okay. Um, but they don't. Maybe it depends on the practitioner, like everything. But the god Horus is still more or less. They don't. It's more of a symbol, though, right? Or they really believe it, like an evangelical believes in Jesus.
It depends on the practitioner, of course, and um, I regard it as personally as a genetic force somehow encoded into our genes. So, so I was in high school when I first got into Thelema,
Yeah.
and it started with, oh man, yeah, it wasn't through like books or anything. It started with a vision of Horus. There's a whole story that led up to this event, but basically, the short story is I had a dream, and it was like one of those weird lucid dreams, and I saw this book that was made of light, and the first page was I saw Osiris, and then the page turns, and I saw Isis, and then the page turned again. Then I saw Horus, and I had no idea about like Thelema's cosmology at that point. I heard of Crowley's name,
Yeah.
but yeah, from there I was like, okay, what the hell was that dream about? And a year later, I picked up a book at Tower Records of all places in Bruno Park. Robert Anton Wilson's Cosmic Trigger, I think it was. And he talked, in that book, he talked about all these people around the world having visions of the god Horus. And of course, my young mind was blown away. I'm like, what the fuck? So other people were having these visions of this hawk-headed god. And so that's when I started looking into Crowley, and finally, eventually, that led me to contact a local OTO lodge down in, where was it? Newport Beach. In New York, Newport Beach, that's where Lon Milo Duquette and his wife, Constance, lives. And they have their OTO lodge. And Lon is a well-respected, one of the most famous Thelemites alive today. So I went over to their place, and they helped me immerse myself in in the whole current.
That's interesting. I've never had a dream like that, man.
It's fun. It's funny. It's like at my high school, there was this strange teacher. I was never in her class, but my friends were telling me about it. She's like, yeah, she's like all into new agey shit, and she's always talking about spiritual stuff. She's so weird. I go to Lon's place, and then like I run into her there.
What was the tradition that Alan Watts was from?
He wasn't part of any tradition. That's
Okay.
that's what makes him great. You know, he is a Western commentator who dabbled in Western Eastern meditation. He also read a lot about Western occultism.
I think about that when he says the earth has peopled as an apple tree apples.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. I mean, it wasn't completely mind blowing when I first heard it, but it's just still something that I think about every now and again. It's it's just a deep thought.
Yeah. That's no different than like Daniel Dennett and Richard Dawkins talking about the earth eventually peopling, right?
Yeah.
Through natural selection. It's just what happens over billions of years.
Right.
That in itself is extremely mysterious.
I mean, what would it be other than just somehow, what do you call it? Abiogenesis. You know, why does life have to be so special?
Well, maybe the universe to begin with is special. It's just already prone to produce life.
Right. And the mystery is, why would the universe be prone to do that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's an answer for that one.
Well, what if we can see that like our consciousness itself was somehow kind of came about in a very natural way, in that all or part of the universe is somehow proto-conscious. If that is the case, then if the universe somehow has proto-consciousness, then it's only natural for consciousness to eventually arise. So
Okay,
that
so
would
it's like an
at least be
evolution in consciousness.
Hmm?
It's like an evolution in consciousness.
And in tangent with biological evolution. But why would all these chemicals come together to produce eventually bacteria and life? Maybe there's something to the universe that does that, in the first place, that is prone to do it. Like, so this is where I start speculating about the inherent geometric nature of the universe.
I'm not sure. I mean, to me, it just seems like if you are a species that can survive better if it communicates better, and you somehow along the way develop more speech functions, and then your consciousness arrives out of some sort of speech to yourself, it's the language sector of the brain, then I don't know, man. I mean, why would that occur at all in the universe? What the universe would make that happen to begin with? I mean, I think immediately asking why you're assuming intention. And right?
I'm not assuming intention. I'm saying this is all a blind causal unfolding.
Okay.
So there's no teleology, there's no intention. The universe is not intending anything.
Okay.
But just the bare facts, the bare existence is all the formula, so to speak, is already there naturally.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So it's
I'm not.
like,
I mean, how you answer that, I have no idea, though. Do you have any reading recommendations for me?
I would say Max Tegmark, but I disagree with his fundamental thesis. But Max Tegmark, who's a cosmologist, Roger Penrose, Shadows of the Mind.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe start there.
And then Shinzen Young.
Yeah.
And what about Cosmic Trigger, you said?
Yeah, I haven't read that, to be honest.
Okay.
I just went to the bookstore. Yeah.
What about Crowley?
Crowley, let's see. Oh, I would recommend The Revival of Magic. It's a collection of his essays, so it's very accessible.
And this outro song you're listening to now is called Growth, which is from a guy that does lo-fi hip-hop as well, called Ginsang, Jinsang. And this is one of my favorite ones from my chill mix. Okay, dude, I gotta get to these Game of Thrones, so...
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on and talking about shit we don't normally talk about. Way more chill conversation than we normally have as well.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I'll check you later. I'll let you know.
All right, man. All right, cool.
Thanks
See you,
again.
Man. Bye.